You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
All right, folks, an Emprise Bank debit card is good anywhere. You have access to 55,000 fee-free ATMs worldwide through the Allpoint ATM network. You can get the same kind of access to your money as any bank across the country while getting the value of working with a trusted partner in Emprise. Shout out Emprise Bank. Shout out to them for being the title sponsor. We love them. Let's get to it, boys. What a Big 12 play is here, and Big 12 play has not disappointed. It's kind of, it was kind of the thing everyone said all non-conference. Like, man, look how good these Big 12 teams are. Every night's going to be an absolute war, and that has been absolutely true. The first two games of the conference slate are games that truly, it's wild to think we could be 0-2 right now in conference. We'll get to Oklahoma State a little later. Wild game, but we got to get to the one that's fresh on the mind. It's been quite the, I don't know, I feel like we play in a lot of games like this, but the Twitter reaction and the fan reaction has just been pretty wild since the win over Texas Tech last night. But before we get to all that, that's just a huge win for the Hawks. We saw DeJuan shooting lights out. Bobby Pettiford had great minutes. KJ Adams was incredible again. And Jalen did his thing. So I don't know. B-turn 2-0 start in Big 12. We can't be much. Can't start better than that, obviously. And to get Tech out of the way is huge. I think that's a game to win the conference. That's one you got to win, or one, that's a huge one to get. So I don't know. Where are you at 2 games in? How you feeling about this team? Because I'm pretty giddy about this team right now.
Me too. And winning in Lubbock is obviously tough. You think about, we lost there last year. Oach hit that game winner a few years ago in a tight one. Even thinking about the Devontae game to extend the Big 12 streak. He hit a bunch of big shots when we were wearing those sexy gray uniforms in Lubbock. But Lubbock's always a tough one. Baby. Yeah. Lubbock's always a tough one. Their crowd's always great. Obviously, it was even more electric probably last night with Kevin McCullough going back. But yeah, both Big 12 games so far have really come down to getting stops at the end of games. Like last night was multiple stops. Tech had the ball even on the last possession down 3. Obviously didn't make the 3, but they got a stop before then, which was the controversial play. And then Oklahoma State, they got a stop late. Bryce Thompson hit a 3, and then KJ finishes, and then we have to get a stop, which that play was controversial too. But they found ways. Lubbock is obviously tough, and they got another tough one where it's always been tough in Morgantown on Saturday.
Yep. Yeah, it's I think I tweeted this in like the final minute. Like, this is going – every road game is going to go like last night went. Like, no lead's ever going to be safe. No game's going to be easy. Hypothetically, wouldn't West Virginia be one of the easiest games on the schedule? And I don't feel at all confident. I think we can go in and win, but it's not like I'm sitting here counting it as a win. So I don't know. It's crazy how good this conference is. I think AB, correct me if I'm wrong, every team in the league is top 40 in KenPom.
Mm-hmm. And another KenPom stat, the top 10 remaining strength of schedules in the country are the 10 teams in the Big 12. Which is just hilarious to say out loud. But yeah, every game's a grind. I did want to say this. It's hilarious. It's not hilarious. That's just how sports and life really works. But we're 2 coin flip finishes away from being, this would be like a disaster episode where we sulk. And it's one of those famous ones we always do where we just get pissed off and cry about everything. 0-2, 10-3 overall, whatever it would be. Much different story than what we're talking about now, but good teams win those kinds of games, and obviously did it.
In those games right there, the Tech game last night was just the most vintage Bill Self coach team type win. That's why we win the league every year. We win those games. We don't crumble under pressure in those late 2 minutes. And I'll say this, I've said all year that this season is kind of like a honeymoon phase. Right? I don't feel as stressed as I normally do, even though I'm starting to really get on the bandwagon. I really want to repeat, which obviously it sounds dumb.
Really?
But I officially
Who's not
feel
on
like
that bandwagon?
Yeah, but I officially feel like it's possible. I didn't think it was possible. Now I definitely do. But anyways, what I was going to say is this team, and I think it's DeJuan Harris, but I just feel relaxed in the final minutes of this a game with this team and Bill Self. Like, they've shown between the NCAA tournament last year, tons of games last year's Wisconsin game, all sorts of games this season. They just execute better late in the game than other teams. And that's why we're going to win the Big 12. That's why we're going to continue to piss people off on Twitter and have the refs blamed, because the ball is going to bounce our way, because we're going to make the better plays, because that's what DeJuan Harris, that's what KJ Adams, that's what Kevin McCullough do. And I don't know. It's been nice. Like, I just sat back last night with, like, I think it was one of our last offensive possessions, and I was just like, okay, whatever. This team will figure it out. They do it. Where normally I'm like on my knees, like, figure it out. Like, I just wasn't that stressed. So you feel that way, B-Turn?
Yeah, I'm definitely way less stressed this year. And I think we've talked about, like, we could go years without winning natties and we'd still be fine. Obviously, you want to win more. But, yeah, last night I wasn't that stressed. If you lose, I mean, you're never going to be happy losing, but a road game in Lubbock where it's always tough. And yeah, we were up 10 with 4 minutes to go and kind of folded there for a while, couldn't score, and they got it to a 1-point game. And I don't know about you guys, but winning those games like that on the road just makes me think back to how really impressive that Big 12 streak was. Because think about how many like tough road games you have to play in the league, and KU's going to get everyone's best crowd, everyone's best shot, and it comes down to a couple possessions, maybe getting a couple stops. I mean, last night they had to get a stop up 1. Obviously, we talked, and Tech had all the momentum at that point too. So a call, maybe a foul call away from losing that game, which you can't even for sure say we would have lost. We would obviously had another chance to score. But yeah, winning those games on the road, and how many studs we've seen in the Big 12, and even this year, like West Virginia's 24th ranked team according to KenPom, and they're 0-2 in the Big 12 right now. So. Yeah. Big 12 is obviously loaded. I think they get disrespected some years. We've seen a ton of superstars come through this league. So winning a game like that and thinking about just how many road games they find a way to win, even during the streak or throughout the Bill Self era, just makes that streak even more impressive to me.
Yeah. And I secret, or not secretly, but like weirdly, does the fact that we do get everyone's best crowd help us? Like, I got to think that, I mean, it sucks sometimes because we play in insane environments, but we are also just so battle tested. Like, every game is a huge deal. And to me, it helps us be poised in those moments. And granted, this team's got a point guard that was playing in front of, I mean, how many freaking people does New Orleans hold? Like, I don't even know. But our guys, him, Jalen, you know, pressure's not going to get to them. But it is
played big games.
Yeah. So it's like in a weird way, I think it kind of helps us that we're not playing in empty gyms and things like that on the road. But it would be nice sometimes to walk into Texas Tech and play in a half full gym, but probably won't happen.
That's what I'm sitting here trying to think, and I'm not trying to disrespect those crowds. I just don't pay attention enough. But I wonder what Lubbock's like, or what Morgantown's like when, say, like
I think
Oklahoma State comes into town, or TCU.
I think Lubbock's pretty good. I think they're pretty solid most of the year, but I mean, we've seen K-State. The difference
Look
in
at
our
Oklahoma
game
tonight, dude.
Yeah,
dude, Oklahoma is always a ghost town. Oklahoma State, Gallagher-Iba is wildly overrated, in my opinion. I went for the Wiggins game. That crowd was not that impressive.
Embiid game.
I don't know. It's weird that I guess Iowa State, I would say, is probably pretty good every night, but I don't know. They've had some rough years which affect that, and I'm not going to judge anyone for not filling a stadium when you're bad, but I don't know. It is but Tech, I do think Tech brings it. I don't, like you said, B-Turn, I think last night it was amped up a little bit because of the McCullough stuff, but
dude dove into the scores table for a loose ball and still got booed.
I know.
Poor guy.
And I mean, we got to talk about how Kevin McCullough he didn't have the best game last night, but huge shot to make that jumper to go up 1. And he made the jumper against Oklahoma State to go up 1-2 or go up 2 or whatever. I can't even remember. But like, that dude's clutch, and he doesn't let the shot before get to him, which I love. Like, and sometimes that may be frustrating because even, I don't know about you guys, but in the Oklahoma State game, when he launched that 3 from the corner, I was like, whoa, no. And then it's in, and you're like, okay, we'll take it. Even kind of last night when he took the jumper after he was like 2 of 7, it's kind of like, damn, but he's not scared. He makes big shots, and it was nice to see him get the last laugh in Lubbock. But I wanted to pose a question. So I tweeted this after DeJuan made his first 2 threes last night. I said, folks, if DeJuan makes 2 threes a game, he's a top, I said 15 player, because I didn't want to get into I didn't want people being like, top 10, top 5. What is the right answer? If he makes 2, 3 threes a game, he's not going to make 5. But if he makes 2, 3 threes a game, is he a top 10 player in the country? Is top 15 the right number? Like, AB, what do you think?
Are you going off? I think he's, if not already, like a top 10 to 15 most valuable. I don't know talent-wise, because in a lot of this stuff too, and he wasn't put on the, Naismith watch or whatever today, whatever came out that Jalen and Grady were on. But like a lot of the stuff he does best doesn't really show up in the stat sheet that people are winning player of the years for. But shit, if he's going to 12, 15 points randomly, like what? I'm still stunned about how last night went with him. Like,
crazy. And they were pure. Like,
I don't think he hit the rim.
Like, he looked so good.
And if you're a Tech fan, obviously DeJuan's great and everyone knows he's a solid player, but if you're a Tech fan, how salty are you with that? Because DeJuan had hit 6 threes all year, and he hits 5 last night. Now he's 11 of 21 from 3, which isn't a huge sample size. And I wanted to ask you guys, like, when that dude shoots threes and he has a wide open look, how do you feel? Like, obviously
I'm actually confident. I really am, because of what Bill said. But go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, there's obviously been players in the past we've watched that we probably are hesitant on wanting them to shoot, or we think they're going to miss it. But when DeJuan's wide open, gets set, shoots it, I feel confident. I know he had some big threes in the tournament, especially against Nova. He hit a couple threes when Nova was trying to go on runs. So I love when DeJuan shoots. I obviously don't want him to start forcing, but I feel like he has good touch around the rim, floaters, getting to the rim, making layups, and he knocks down the occasional jumper. So it's not like I want the dude to shoot 10 more times a game, but I don't think anyone would be upset if the dude took maybe 3 or 5 more shots a game. There's literally games we've seen him go like 2 for 2 in a game, or take 1 shot in the entire game. And Bill even says how much he affects it. But yeah, he's definitely one of the most valuable players in the country. Like, I saw our boy Rico Bosco tweet DeJuan Harris is the best guard in the country. I think some people actually think that because he really affects the game that much, from just getting guys involved, defensive, from a defensive standpoint. So yeah, he's so awesome.
If he can shoot, like, I can't even explain how important that is going to be. Like, think about everyone else on the offense and kind of what their skill set is. Jalen, especially, who's taking 15 or 20 shots a night. Half of them are just him driving to the bucket. And right now, and when we struggle, it's because DeJuan's guy doesn't feel like he needs to guard him, and it's 2, 3 guys in the paint that Jalen's trying to go into. If DeJuan can just, I'm not even saying like make 3 a game or make 2 a game, but just show consistently that he's like a threat to go off like he did last night, go 3 or 4, something like that. Like, that's going to change the entire offense and benefit like Jalen and Grady. And we think they're putting up crazy numbers now. Just wait until the lane opens up and the floor opens up for them.
I know. Jalen would benefit so much because he's got to work so hard for his buckets. And if the floor would open up, that'd be huge for him. But yeah, I mean, it is nice to see that like national people are starting to just, because I get it. If you just kind of casually tuned into a Kansas game last year, you probably weren't fully grasping how good DeJuan is. But I feel like this year, now that you've seen him for 30, 40 plus games with 2 different teams and 2 different kind of not styles, but, you know, just different looks, he's so good. I mean, it's like I said earlier, the calming influence he brings, like, it's going to be a rude awakening when he leaves this program
5 years from now,
somebody else's running point. Like, it's going to be terrifying because you watch other teams that don't have a great point guard and it's just like, oh my God, like, can you imagine DeJuan doing that? And B-Turn, to answer your question, when you said like, how do you feel when he shoots it? I feel great when DeJuan shoots it because if DeJuan's taking a shot, I know he knows it's a good one. Like, DeJuan's never going to take a shot that's not a good shot, and to a fault sometimes. He passes on him, but when he's taking one, you know he knows it's a good look and that he feels good about it. So it's just a guy I truly don't know if I've ever trusted a player with the ball in their hands more than I trust DeJuan Harris. But it's going to be interesting to see the type of getting left off the Koozie Award and all that. Like, it's crazy how disrespected he's been, but I think it's finally starting to become pretty evident to people.
He's definitely getting our whole fan base. I mean, I haven't seen too many negative tweets about him at all this year.
Yeah. Think about last year.
Yeah, it was awful. Bill obviously was questioned about him starting a lot throughout the year, even after the TCU game, I think. And it took one NCAA tournament for him to show how much of a lockdown defender he is and how much he affects the game. I mean, he made life hell for Caleb Love, RJ Davis in the championship games. So I think he's just awesome, man. And seeing that shit last night just makes you so happy. Seeing Kevin McCullough hit a clutch shot like that, getting booed for 40 minutes like that, put a smile on my face. And I still think the potential for this team is through the roof. And like you said, they got a lot of guys that have played in experienced games or in big games. They got a ton of experience. And I think they'll just be so poised in the tournament, and they could be really good defensively, I think, with KJ, DeJuan, Kevin McCullough. So I think this team could be so damn good by March. Like, I don't even think I think Lenardi has them as the number 1 overall seed at the moment. I know it's January, but it's insane what Bill Self does. But yeah, I think this team could be so good by the end of the year.
AB, is it crazy to say that if we go, I don't know, if we have 5 losses in Big 12 play, is it possible we could still get like a number 1 overall seed because of the schedule and the amount of quad 1 wins? Like, I think that's
so. Say we
doable.
lose. Say we go. What would that be? 13-5.
Yeah.
13-5 and win the conference tournament. That's 28-6. I want to say that would be 34 games, and that's gotten us a 1 seed before. Was that what our record was last year?
Number 1 overall. Well, Houston
maybe. I mean,
number 1 overall, but
their resume is
with how good the league is, though.
Maybe Virginia, though, I guess.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about that because I think it's interesting. All right, we are back. I brought it up. I feel really good if we win the Big 12. I think getting a 1 seed is like a lock.
Guaranteed.
Like, I think whoever wins the Big 12 is getting a 1 seed. But number 1 overall seed, that just kind of, when I saw that thing with Lenardi, it's like, yeah, I think Houston's gonna have 1-2 losses come Selection Sunday, so it'll be interesting to compare our resume by then to theirs. But I don't know. AB, you seem pretty convinced Houston's resume ain't going to cut it.
I just think the strength of schedule is going to be so insane for really anyone that wins the Big 12. I think anyone that, if someone goes 14-4, 13-5, and had 1 or fewer losses in non-con, I think they have an argument to be the number 1 overall. Like, they're going to have a top 10 strength of schedule in the country, and they're going to have 5 or 6 losses. I don't care what Houston's done. The American might be the worst Power 6, if they want to call it that, conference in the history of sports. I went through it yesterday because I was seeing when Houston could lose again. They just don't play anybody.
That's why
I'm sitting here getting excited about like a month or so from now when we're doing hella bracket talks and AB's getting fired up about seeds and what mid-majors are going to be good. And
we're going to have Super Celtic 24 on the pod to go through his latest bracketology.
And that's why I'm so fired up. Repeating will be a huge storyline. It will be like one of the biggest storylines of the tournament, which is going to be awesome because maybe I was too big of a skeptic. I just didn't see it with this team. And I still think this team's going to hit a bump in the road. We always do. We haven't had that painful, 2-3 week stretch, which who knows, maybe we have, and we've found ways to just win the games. I don't know. But the fact that I genuinely could envision this team making a Final Four and winning it all, it's wild because it's crazy. We've obviously never, 09, the weird thing is if 09 gets past, I guess nobody was beating North Carolina that year, but so that team wasn't repeating, but that team definitely could have got the Final Four. But this team feels like the best shot we've had to make even really back-to-back Final Fours, I guess, since 20.
It's been since Roy, right?
Yeah, we haven't made one since 02, 03, and our best shot was the McLemore 2013 year. We should have, not to bring up the Michigan game, but 2012, 2013 should have been back-to-back Final Fours. But Bill needs back-to-back Final Fours.
You would say 2011 and 2012. It would be backwards, but.
Jeez, yeah. I wonder if 12, it's crazy to think about.
You know what's also wild we're going to be playing an Elite Eight game if we make the Elite Eight in the old T-Mobile Center.
Which especially Elite Eight games. But what I was going to say is, I'm sure maybe this team could collapse, and maybe I'm wrong, but it feels, worst case, this team gets a 2 seed in March. I know it's only January, but they're going to be up there, especially with how they've started. In the Big 12, they've won one of the tougher road games. They're going to be up there to win the Big 12. You still got 8 more at Allen Fieldhouse. You'll probably get 7-1 or whatever in those, even though we almost lost to Oklahoma State. But yeah, 2 seeds seem, maybe I'm crazy. A 3 wouldn't even be terrible, but it seems like 2 seed would be worst case just because they have so many more games at Allen.
I think they go to 11-7 and get a 2 seed potentially. Mm-hmm. Like that's 25-8, 26-8. I don't know, but we've gotten 2 seeds with that type of record before.
Just thinking about how Bill talks about this team and the guys too makes me think he is super in on this team. Obviously, it's going to take you got a couple months before the tournament, but he's all in. I feel like. We gotta have a segment about KJ Adams in a little bit, but the way he talks about KJ, like the Draymond comparisons, Jalen's averaging 21. Fran showed last night that there's been 2 guys that have averaged 20 plus at KU. Like it's just unheard of. He's not even shooting it as well as I think he can. Kevin McCullough, I didn't even know he's averaging 7 boards a night, 11 and 7. So we got guys that can rebound. We can guard, athletic, and I wouldn't take another point guard over DeJuan. There's obviously better scorers, but so we got a guy averaging 20 plus, one of the best point guards in the country. Kevin McCullough's great on both ends. KJ's been unbelievable. And then obviously Grady. So feel really good.
You guys ready for a little quiz?
Feed me, Daddy.
If we win Saturday, this will be the best start for a Kansas basketball team since what team? I actually had to look this up.
2020?
No. We lost too early. Is it
you're saying over? I thought you were saying Big 12.
No, I'm just meaning by this date, if we win Saturday, by every other team would have had 2 losses by now.
Oh, I'd say 2010. Was it?
No, it's actually not. See, I thought it was going to go back that far. It's really not, but it's still kind of funny to put this team and the team I'm about to say in the same category.
Was it 20? Was it 16?
It's 2017.
Oh, with
that
Josh.
Team,
I thought
they lost the first game of the year
and
then didn't lose again
Indiana.
till mid-January. And so by this point in the year they had – but that's what's wild to me is that this team has had just as good of a start as the 2017 team, and expectations for that team were natty or bust, which was fair. And expectations for this team, which granted is because we won the natty last year, but I think everyone was just kind of we can put together a good season, win the league, maybe flirt with making a Final Four, but this team's really been super impressive. And now this could all look really stupid. I probably should have waited until we won to quiz that, but it was just something that entered my brain because it's taken me a while, and I'm rehashing all this, but it's taken me a while to get fully bought in on this team. And I think the fact that Missouri has been so good.
They're up 13 right now against Arkansas. It's 32-19 late in the first. They look really good.
Up?
Yeah, up 13. They were a 7-point dog tonight, I think, around that.
They're good, and we killed them. This team is good. So
maybe you're not all in because we won a natty, and it's just tough to expect back-to-back. Obviously, we talked about how there hasn't been a team make the Elite Eight or go past the Elite Eight since Florida?
Make the Sweets. Oh, Elite Eight. Yeah.
Make the Elite Eight since Florida. So, it's tough to get your hopes up. And probably in 17 we were just disgusting, but it had been since 08. So you're obviously thirsty for a title at that point. But I was going to ask you guys, and it doesn't even have to be one team, but you can maybe say a two or three teams. Who do you think the best team in the country is right now? And if you can't pick one, who are maybe the 2 or 3 best?
I mean, I think the argument can be made that we are playing the best in the country, but I think me and AB will probably agree on this. I love Arizona. If I had to bet money on who's going to win it all, I'd pick Arizona, but Tennessee sneaky really good too.
They pumped Mississippi State last night.
I heard they pumped the Hawks too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I like Tennessee a lot, but like, I don't know, man. You think about the fact we beat Missouri the way we did. We win at Tech. This team's pretty good. So,
Do you want Ken Palm's opinion?
Yes.
Okay. It's like, I think I just saw K-State has the nation's longest winning streak right now. That can't be right.
They've lost since we've lost.
That's what I thought. Ken Palm had a little note. Never mind. Sorry, it's freaked me out a little bit. They love. So there's 4 teams on Ken Palm right now that are like close together, and then there's a drop off to 5th. KU's 5th, which kind of surprises me. But also, and I hinted at it earlier, 2 coin flips away from this being like a miserable episode, and we're being miserable and talking about how they're going to lose in the first round. So like,
we also almost lost to Southern Utah. People forget that.
Seems Southern Utah's a wagon. Look at them in the 14-3. Tennessee's up to 2. Houston's still number 1, but I'm not going to trust Houston. I won't do it. I've tried to do it before. I just will not continue to do it. It won't happen. So I don't know. I guess Tennessee maybe. Dude, Tennessee, KU.
Houston is plus 700 to win the title.
They will not win it. I think Marcus Sass was awesome, but I don't think they have enough scores. They play super hard and well coached. I just can't picture them winning a title. I don't think they have enough firepower offensively. But yeah, that's another thing too. We obviously escaped against Oklahoma State, but and obviously we were up 10 with 4 minutes to go last night in Lubbock. But would you guys have been melting down that much today if we lost a tight one in Lubbock last night? I know it would have been a choke, but that's what I'm saying. I'm so chill during regular season games now, just because I know Bill figures it out and everything's going to be just fine.
Especially in early January.
Making hard shots. Like, it wasn't like we were – I mean, Pop Isaacs, the guy shoots like I did when I was in 4th grade. Like, just straight from the hip, flings it. The worst. Couldn't believe he kept making shots. But they were making tough shots to stay in that game. We were up 10. God, and was it O'Banner that just made a deep 3? Yeah, like they were making tough shots. So I had already had that conversation turn in my head. Like, okay, if we lose, is this going to be like how mad am I going to be about this loss? And I really wasn't going to be mad, but it would have been a tough pill to swallow to be up 10 in Lubbock and lose the game. That would have been the worst part of it. But dropping that game would not have been that big of a deal. But
here's another reason to be confident. They're favored in every single game except for at Texas to end the year. So they're favored for the next 16 or 17 games.
Yeah.
And obviously they're not going to run the table, but like you're going to, as it is every year, you're going to feel like you can win any game you go into. And those start to add up. So, yeah.
I have a question I've been thinking about all day for you guys. I think, AB, you love questions and you love the player that I'm going to ask the question about. And it's probably hard.
Cam Martin.
It's probably hard to answer this question because obviously we've played plenty of games now. And you've seen him play, but before the year, right? Like when we're talking about lineups, we're talking about Zach Clements starting. How many games would you have said KJ Adams would score in double figures before the year?
1. It would have. Oh, my bad. I would have said my prediction would have been 1, and it would have been Southern Utah. That's it. Like, I really didn't see KJ Adams having a much bigger role than he did last year. I really didn't think so. I'm an idiot.
He's 7 straight in double figures. He's averaging 13 points over the last 7. Yeah. He had 19 and 6 at Mizzou. He's 39 of 55 from the floor in that span. Obviously, he doesn't take many jumpers, dunks, layups, but he's kind of got some nice touch around, like in the paint right now, like a little, 5-6 footers. And in that span, he's 11 for 14 from the line. Remember how horrendous he was to start the year? He couldn't make anything. That's 79%, 71% from the floor. He's been insane defensively. So basically what I'm getting at is, should we stop worrying about having so much height and length? Because KJ is just absurdly athletic. The way he leaps and gets off the floor is insane. So I think he can make up with it with his athleticism against bigger bigs.
I was going to pose that same question, AB. It's like, do we need to just quit? I still have people in my mentions. Like today I tweeted that we were the best team in the country, and people were like, well, we got to figure out our big man situation. While I do agree we need Zuby or somebody off the bench, but KJ's not losing the start. KJ's starting.
No.
KJ will start every game at Kansas for the rest of his career, which is wild to think. It's the same thing with Marcus Garrett his sophomore year. Same thing with DeJuan last year. The guy's just going to play big minutes for the rest of his career at Kansas. But so I don't know. Is the 5 thing that we've all been stressed about no longer an issue? I don't know.
It depends on the matchup, but like how many teams at this point are running out 2 bigs, or I guess Purdue. I'd love to see KJ guard Zach Edey. But I don't know. I mean, like this just feels like the same conversation we had for 3 months last year between Remy and DeJuan. Like, maybe there's a more talented player on the bench that when he plays his A+ game is going to, be better than KJ Adams. But KJ Adams is playing his A game for the last month. So it's like, okay, well, it seems to be a pretty consistent trend. I don't know why A, you would change anything, or B, feel like you would need to, unless it's a situation where you got 2 7-footers going against you. But that feels like more of a roster question than is KJ Adams good enough to be the center question.
And we've been so hung up on it, but it's like if you're Purdue, now Purdue's, I think, a bad example because Zach Edey's a nightmare for anyone, but it's like, are you kind of like
Kentucky?
Shit, what are you going to do with KJ Adams? Like now we've got to guard this guy that can play on the perimeter and he's incredible passer, all that. Like KJ, I think we've kind of underestimated how difficult KJ can make it for the opposing teams to guard us, and defensively, the way he can switch onto a point guard is something that I would argue not any other top 15 team in the country has at the 5 position. Like, I'm sure there's some out there, but like our ability to just switch everything across the floor is crazy. And I think this team is going to continue to get better defensively. I just think as they work that's just what Bill Self teams do. Bill will call them soft after a few conference losses, and they'll be – where are they at KenPom defensively?
12.
Yeah. It's like, what is it, 10 and 12? 11? No, 11 and 11 right now.
Okay.
Offense, defense.
And they'll be better than that. They'll be top.
They'll be better in both probably, no? We've talked about if DeJuan starts shooting the ball or scoring the ball, then the offense should naturally improve.
I keep picturing, and obviously teams can get hot in March and have a huge night shooting it, hit 10+ threes, but I can just picture this team locking up defensively in March, and I think they'll be really tough to beat because I think they're built to win in March, just from a defensive standpoint. So yeah, I'm super pumped about them going forward, and I was just thinking it's kind of wild. If you would have told me throughout the first few games that Zuby was going to be the guy getting minutes over Ernest, I would have been shocked. Ernest doesn't even play anymore.
And didn't Cam Martin get the most minutes of any backup big last night? I mean, maybe it was Zuby, but Cam played like 4 or 5 decent minutes. So we'll see. I mean, as long as one of those guys can just have, we overuse this, but like a Cole Aldridge type March where you just come in and give us really good minutes in a big game, like whatever. But
you're talking 2008 Cole Aldridge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not triple-double. And
I was going to say.
That would be nice if Cam
Zuby goes for 24, 11, and 10 and a second-round escape win.
That would be that would be pretty electric. I would take that.
Can I ask a question real quick? Since we're going around the table.
Pod. I love it.
Do you guys think Jalen's getting a little shot happy? I know at the beginning of the year we needed him to be, and he was our offense. But at this point, it feels like Grady's starting to get a little more comfortable, which he needs to shoot more. We can get to that later. Grady's getting a little more comfortable. McCullough clearly doesn't have any issues taking a shot. KJ's, like Braiden, like you said, double figures every game. And then DeJuan, he can do what he does last night or go for 4. But it feels like the offense as a whole is coming more together. And there were points last night, and I just went through Jalen's game chart. It's 15, 17 shots every single game. There were some points last night where it just felt like he was still forcing it a little bit, even though now he has a little bit of help. So I don't want him to get stuck in that trap where he's doing that in a late situation in March and it costs us a game when McCullough's wide open in the corner or something like that.
I definitely get the sense that Jalen is trying to prove that he's a good shooter because he does get a little, there's moments where you feel, and I'm sure the guy's gassed and doesn't feel like driving to the bucket sometimes. He plays every minute, but like it does feel like there's times where he could easily probably go drive or, like you said, pass, and he just kind of chucks a 3 because I do think that was, a lot of the feedback he got was go prove that you're a shooter. Like if you're going to play in this league, you're going to have to make outside shots. And last night he made 3, I think was probably one of his better shooting games of the year from 3-point range. But yeah, I think as this offense has gotten better, when this team is clicking and playing its A game, it's just ball movement, zipping around the court, driving, the skip. I mean, Fran was obsessed with the skip pass last night. He commented, "There's a skip pass every time," but this team is really good at it. And so, yeah, I think Jalen, and it was kind of rough at the start where like our offense was so brutal at times where Jalen just had to say, "Okay, I'm putting my head down. I'm going to go get a bucket." But I do think I think he will, just kind of starts to trust guys more and just trust the overall offense, his shots might go down. But it's crazy that if the season ended tomorrow, Jalen Wilson would average the most shots a game of any player in the Bill Self era. Like that's, when you think about the guys we've had come through here, to think he's putting up more shots than Dedrick Lawson did on that team that stunk. Crazy. So I don't know. That's my take.
Feels like he's getting up 15 plus shots every night. So yeah, it feels like he probably going into the year, I think Bill like made it an emphasis that Jalen was going to have to score and be this All-American type player for us to be good. So that's probably imprinted with him. Obviously he's trying to get drafted, go to the next level, but yeah, I think the guys around him have obviously stepped up and become better scorers. Grady, even the first 2 Big 12 games, I think he's had 8 points and 11 points. So he hasn't been scoring as much, but I just looked, he had 9 rebounds against Oklahoma State, 8 against Tech last night. So he's been doing other things besides scoring. So yeah, it's tough just because, I mean, Jalen's averaging 21 a night. So it's,
and I'm not acting like I want
for sure.
him to,
I want him shooting, and when he does shoot, I'm fine with it. If he misses, he's obviously had bad nights. Tennessee was bad. Even last night, his percentages aren't great. I think he's 41 or so from the field, 33 from 3. So it's not amazing, but he's 15, 20 shots a night. Like that's pretty insane for a KU player. And we have a future first rounder on our team, and maybe McCullough who gets drafted too.
Yep. All right, let's kick it to another break, and then we're going to get into the fun stuff. We're going to talk about Texas Tech fans, Oklahoma State fans, refs win KU's Big 12 title. It's what we know. That's a fact. So quick break, we'll be back. Before we were texting today, and I was like, we got to talk about the full-on meltdown that Tech fans had last night. And I said to you guys, let's compile some of our favorite tweets that Tech fans came up with. But before we do that, I just want to have a discussion around the officials thing. I mean, first off, the Oklahoma State game, I get it. McCullough probably fouled the guy. But a couple things I can't stand. People that say, oh, Kansas loses that game if they call that foul. We were up to a 56% free throw shooter would have been shooting 2 free throws. I don't know if we lose the game. And guess what? If we go to overtime, we don't lose the game. So I've had it with that, but whatever. The Oklahoma State stuff, I'm not that worried about. The Texas Tech, the fact that the narrative after that game was that Texas Tech got a bad whistle was absolutely bananas. AB, me and you both tweeted about it. Kevin McCullough took the most beautiful charge I've ever seen. That ref all but did this. And then he's just like, oh. Guy makes a 3 right.
Pass the ball.
I think he called a charge the possession before too on Tech.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, Grady took it.
He literally put his hand up. The only thing he didn't do was blow his whistle. I couldn't believe it.
At one point, Texas Tech went 26 minutes without having a foul call, or was it a defensive foul called on him? Either way, there was either a 26-minute drought of having a defensive foul called on him, or maybe a 26-minute drought of having a foul called on them at all. I mean, before we get into this and make jokes, to act like Texas Tech got a bad whistle last night, they got called for 6 fouls. 6 fouls.
Mm-hmm.
In
I have a lot
basketball
on this.
game.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a lot.
So before we read the tweets, if you want to, go into give me your thoughts. Because
right,
I don't know why I let it get to me so much last night, but it fired me up.
This wasn't even a Tech thing specifically for me. It's just everyone. Like, I can't tell you how many times we've had a text conversation or tweeted about it where, Ryan, it's one of your like probably top 3 tweeted things ever where you just do all caps ref show. There's nothing worse than watching a college basketball game when there's 47 fouls in the entire game. Like there's way too many free throws. There's too many clock stoppages. It lasts 2.5 hours, 3 hours, like a West Virginia every time they play. So when we bitch about that side of it, no one should be bitching when there's 17 total fouls called in a game and 16 total free throws shot. And that brings me to another point. Tech fans bitching 4 free throws in the game. We shot our third and fourth with 3.5 minutes left, but whatever. And also, this one is what really pissed me off because people just forget about the first 38 minutes of the game when it comes to KU and officiating.
I know.
I can't remember how much time was left. It was definitely in the first half because we were on the left side. There was like a loose ball and KJ picked it up, and it's when he missed that bunny. He was being tackled by his ankle, like literally tackled.
The guy was trying to commit a foul. The guy was trying to pull him down to just not let him get a layup up, and freaking Higgins staring right at it.
He's staring right. Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, you got to make the layup still, but that's not really my point. It's like the refs were clearly swallowing their whistles all night long, and everyone can agree if you're not making your opinion on this specific subject in the middle of a game you're watching, if I ask you tomorrow night, would you rather watch a game with 60 free throw shot or 16 free throw shot and not a lot of fouls and consistent quick gameplay? Everyone's signing up for that. So we can't complain when they don't call fouls. Just let them play.
Especially if you're Texas Tech. That style of play, letting them play is what Texas Tech wants. They're going to be better in that scenario. And I get it. The thing I'm fired up about also is like they keep saying it was a foul. I think Jalen fouled the big guy, but
Bobby didn't.
I do not think Bobby fouled that guy. If anything, that guy was like starting to hook. I don't know. I can't. If we're calling that a foul, then college basketball is going to be the most boring product in the world because we're getting a stoppage and play.
I think that's one of those calls where if that was us dribbling and they called that a foul on Tech, I would call that out and be like, that's not a foul. You got to let them play there, you know?
And the same people bitching right now are going to be the ones bitching about that if they called it against them.
And I also would have been mad. Like, that's the difference between us and a team like Tech. Where was Pop Smoke going? Was it not Pop Smoke? Oh my God. Oh my God. Pop Smoke, Pop Isaac.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Where was he going?
What you know about love?
Like that, he wasn't going anywhere. Like, it was a bad play to dribble into traffic like that, and a foul would have just been an annoying bailout because it was just a poorly executed play. Now,
and it wasn't
the big guy.
Second off, it wasn't a foul. So, like you said, talking about ref shows, it wasn't a ref show all night. They didn't call anything. So I think it's one of those things where if it was one side officiated one-sided where KU was getting all the calls, obviously that's happened at Allen Fieldhouse. We've admitted to that. Then it would be a different story that you don't call that there, but it wasn't. They let them play all night. There was hardly any fouls. Teams were barely in the bonus at all. So
that was my next question.
Were
they even in the bonus?
Well, so I think they were. I think they were. But Jesse Newell put out a really interesting tweet on this. He said, he tweeted, I had the KU should foul Baucho. How do you say that guy's last name? Baucho? Big goofy
Your
guy.
guess is good as mine.
Baucho. KU should foul Baucho and give him a 1-and-1 tweet, all queued up 30 seconds ago, but then was like, man, Self would never do that. Then Wilson looked like he got in a bad spot and maybe sort of tried to do it. And then he says this. So if KU's up 1 in that scenario with 30 seconds left and you foul Baucho, who's a 59% career free throw shooter, 41% of the time, he's going to miss the first, and we're probably going to get the defensive rebound. We're up 1. 24% of the time, he's going to make the first, miss the second, and then we're getting the defensive rebound, and we have the last shot to go win the game. And 35% of the time, he makes both, and we get the last shot down 1. So he's like, not the worst idea if Baucho has Wilson pinned. Like, so I guess it goes back to my point about the Oklahoma State thing where people are like, oh, Kansas loses the game if they call that foul.
Nope.
Even if that foul is called, We don't lose the game. I still don't think we lose the game. I think that guy makes one of two.
Well, we don't for sure lose. People are making it seem like we would have for sure lost. We would have had one more look at it.
It's just so annoying. Kansas should be 0-2. We could be 0-2, but if both those calls go against us, I still like our chances in overtime.
And also don't put yourself in a spot where you're down 10 with 4 minutes left at home, and KU controlled mostly the whole game. Obviously, we didn't get stops in the first half, which was annoying. Tech had a bunch of open looks, scored plenty of points, and they had the lead. They were up by 8 at some point, but we controlled the whole second half. DeJuan hit a 3 to go up 10 with like 4 minutes left, and yeah, they could have won. But it's one of the like you said, AB, one of those games where they shoot a ton of free throws, they call fouls all game. Maybe you could expect a foul there, but they let them play. So why not let them play in a 1-point game with 30 seconds left, or how many seconds there were left?
Yeah,
because that would have been way more annoying if they would have decided to start blowing whistles with a minute and a half to go and affecting the game that way.
Which is what I fully expect.
The biggest spot of the game.
At least just be consistent. And that's a whole other conversation of game to game, week to week, year to year, how one game you'll have a game like this one, and then against West Virginia, we'll probably shoot 30 free throws. It's annoying.
I don't know. And the thing with Oklahoma State, it's like, cry all you want. You gave up a 15-point lead. It's really hard to give up. I don't care if you're at Allen Fieldhouse, giving up a 15-point lead, that is on you. And so, like, Texas Tech to me is like I feel like the fact that they lost Beard, and then they kind of felt like they got their swagger back. They found their new love in Mark Adams. Well, then all of a sudden McCullough leaves, Terrence Shannon leaves, and all of a sudden, Texas Tech is just feeling like they just keep getting their hearts broken. They feel like they're not loved by anyone. And now they're just becoming whiny and annoying. I don't know. That's the only thing I could come up with for Texas Tech. And I kind of get it. What Beard did to them was brutal. McCullough leaving to come to us was honestly kind of brutal. But, man, I don't remember Tech being as cringy and, just babyish as they were last night on Twitter. So that's my rant on Tech. If AB or you got any tweets you want to start it off with?
I honestly forgot to even go get some.
Good job,
but no, there was one that I think you may have sent in, or someone DM'd the pod, and it was basically just talking about I can't even remember exactly what it was. The guy had a cactus in his name. He had a cactus.
Oh, he was having
you know what I'm talking about?
Night. Yeah, a lot of them have cactuses. We tweeted it on the pod. He said, "I'm livid. If Kansas fans sleep better at night knowing their team should be 0-2 in conference play, then I don't know what to tell you. We fought like hell against 8 all night, but just couldn't tidy things up in time. We will beat them at the Fog with or without the refs. Wreck them." By the way, I believe he was the same guy that quote tweeted Kevin McCullough's tweet when he transferred and said, "Can't wait to sweep them next year." Well, he still thinks they're winning at the Fog. You got to respect this guy's.
He loves the old Red Raiders.
He loves Red Raiders. Okay. Another one that was absolutely wild. Another girl. This was her name's Shelby Rhodes. She's verified. I think she's like a news anchor in Lubbock. And I don't know. I think she was kind of having fun with it, so I don't want to go too hard at it. But at one point she tweeted upside. If you want to get worse at your game as a top defensive player, transfer to Kansas. Kevin McCullough is statistically better in almost every single category since he transferred to Kansas. So, again, just a banana land salty tweet that has no, it's just wrong. It was just wrong. So shout out her. She had some other absolute
heaters.
Oh, yeah.
Barstool Pokes, Oklahoma State got involved.
Hell yeah.
Kansas really just getting free rides from the stripes against us on Saturday and against Barstool, Texas Tech tonight. Brett Yormack, Mark Emmert, and all of NCAA officiating should be ashamed that Kansas is 2-0 in this conference. Both wins decided on refs swallowing their whistles.
We would not have lost the Oklahoma State game. I don't care.
It's stunning. There was one other. Oh, maybe my favorite one was the guy that sneaky said that KJ Adams should have got a technical foul for hanging on the rim.
Oh,
he would have died if he let go.
after getting absolutely smoked in the back by the Boucho guy. Like
that's not a foul though. The one on Bobby was.
It's just crazy. So yeah, I don't know. Thought you guys would maybe have some tweets prepared, but good work, guys. Good.
Well,
way to do your homework.
I will say this. This has nothing to do with Texas Tech and refs, but thinking about KU haters on Twitter, this might be my favorite tweet of all time. Do you remember when KU locked up 10 straight conference championships?
I mean, yes.
There was this
going back for this.
Yeah, no, believe me, it was my phone screensaver for a minute. But this girl that went to Wichita State tweeted out, was like, 10 straight, that's cute. How about 27 in a row? Because they had won 27 straight games. And for some reason, I could not stop laughing to this day. It might be my favorite tweet ever tweeted. And she was dead serious.
I remember that vividly.
It was so funny.
Did she think we were tweeting about winning 10 games in a row?
Yeah, 100%, yeah. It's like 27's bigger than 10. We've done that.
Shockers.
Man, they've become irrelevant.
I miss them though. That was a fun rivalry that happened once where they were just talking shit
and whooped our ass.
Yeah, I know.
The Shelby girl had one more just hot take. Mm-hmm. Kansas is not a national championship team this season. Calling it now. They're a team that gets bailed out every game. How do you have a close game against Harvard and then barely win 2 close Big 12 games where you get hardly any calls? Biased. I don't understand fully what she's saying, but I mean, we broke their brains. We truly broke Texas Tech fans' brains last night, and it was just I was stunned with what we were seeing.
Their best player transferred here.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. You gotta feel for the guy, and I think we tweeted this from the pod page, like the quote tweets that Kevin McCullough dealt with after he announced he was going to KU was just brutal. So yeah,
good stuff, boys. Is there anything else that we need?
Do we want to talk about this guy at all?
Oh,
I'll give you the floor. Tell us about a legend. I mean, truly, 1 million followers. That's insane.
Yeah. So obviously we got him here for the Chiefs game and kind of was just looking around and looked at KU's schedule, and they happened to be playing a day before against Oklahoma State, a team he's trolled before. He's more of a Sooner fan. So yeah, they wanted to get there early, take in the field house. There was a big line to get in before the doors opened. People were already stopping him, asking for pictures, doing videos with him. We got in there. Deputy AD Jason Booker, we met up with us, took him into the video room. They did a little video thing with him, showed him on the video screen, whatever it's called, Jumbotron. Introduced him as a TikTok star, which was electric. He just threw his hands up and he put his Powerade down and just started screaming yeah at the top of his lungs, like in my ears, because he loves the fame, like he loves meeting everyone, and everyone was so good to him the entire weekend. So that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it. Like, I'm just so proud to be from where I'm from. Everyone was so good to him and supportive. Everyone at KU was great. Jefferson's let us host a meet and greet on like a
crazy. How many people showed up to that?
Yeah, they got it set up in 5 minutes.
I'm not even kidding.
One day notice.
If Bill Self hosted a meet and greet, I think I think James Droz competes with that. The amount of people he had show up, probably not, but I don't know.
I think so too. And you got to think about it. The game was at 1. We did it at 4. I tweeted it out at like 2 the day before, so it was a 1 day notice. Jefferson's got it set up in 5 minutes. Shout out to them. It was amazing. Like, the kids were the people just love him, and the support behind him is crazy. I've never really seen anything like it. But people at Allen, it was his first trip there. He's a KU fan now. He called me last night, was watching the game. He did that video on his backup account, trolling Texas Tech. First trip at Arrowhead, and it was perfect, dude. The Chiefs took care of him. So I just wanted to give a shout out to KU fans. A lot of them knew who he was. A lot of people know who he is.
If you're listening and you don't know who James is, he's the kid from TikTok that does the what happened after everyone lost. Everyone loses. The best one ever is the USC one. I don't know if you know which one I'm referencing, but it's electric. But, I mean, the one he did last night, pretty electric.
You pulling it up?
Texas Tech. What happened? How to lose to Kansas? KU.
He's a legend.
What happened? See, one thing.
I mean, 1 million followers. He's an icon. It's crazy what that dude's built. And it was awesome to see you bring him to Allen Fieldhouse. And I wondered, is he a Kansas fan or did you turn him into a Kansas fan?
Before he didn't mind him, but now I honestly think he's a fan for life. Like his mom kept saying the word deafening about Allen Fieldhouse. Like she was blown away. I think even more than Arrowhead, but and now I think he's got at least love for KU in his heart forever, probably. Just the way the people treated him. It was crazy. Once they showed him on the Jumbotron, everyone saw where he was sitting, and there was literally a line outside the tunnel to take pictures with him, like 20 or 30 kids. And he loves it. He wants to take every picture he can. Like I went up to him and I was like, James, you want to come sit down? He's like, no, I want to talk to my fans. So he loves every person he can meet. So he should be back for a playoff game for the Chiefs. So if you get a chance to meet him, don't hesitate to go say hi because he loves it and eats it up. He loves the fame and he deserves it.
He's awesome. He's an absolute. I've been watching his TikToks for months. I've been obsessed with him since like fall. So 1 million followers is I keep saying it, but like I don't think people realize how hard it is to get 1 million followers. Like that's nuts. But all right, I think that's all we got. Fun week, 2-0 in the Big 12. That's all you can ask for. Big one Saturday, as I mentioned. If we win Saturday, it's one of our best starts. I think it's our best start since 2017 and one of our best starts in a long time. So it's fun things are happening, boys. The repeat's on the table. I'm fired up, loving this team. And we'll be back next week to talk more KU hoops. Rock chalk.